Hello, everyone. Good morning. Can you hear me? Please, if you can hear me, just unmute yourself and answer me and say good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Thank you so very much for being here. Can we please mute ourselves again? Welcome to this meeting's captured. I am not crazy, but depressed. Wow, two powerful words, crazy and depressed. It's actually a campaign to promote mental health awareness in a toxic workplace and environment. I am Olubumi Oshoteku, welcoming you to this meeting, and I have the pleasure of being the anchor for this meeting. It's actually a privilege that I don't take for granted. Well, everybody knows that mental health is something that is very important and it's something that we must take seriously. A lot of people don't even know what it's all about. And that is why we're doing this, because one of the reasons is that May, the month of May, is actually World Mental Health Awareness Month. And it's considered important for people to be aware of their mental health state. And also the Association of Psychiatrists in Nigeria have called on for the full implementation of a new act. It is called Mental Health Act, and it's actually to replace the former one, which is the Lunacy Act. The Lunacy Act is one that is regarded as very, very unfair and treats people with mental health conditions unfairly, inhumanely. This act or this law does not take care of people with mental health issues as they are unjustly treated. Some of them lose their jobs in their places of work. Some of them are sent out of their accommodation, taken as mad people and all that. This is not fair. But the Mental Health Act, the new one that the professionals are agitating for, is one that lays emphasis on human rights issues and the abolition of discriminatory practices. And this is one of the reasons why we have this meeting, for people to be aware of their mental health and know that because I have mental health issues doesn't mean I am mad, I'm crazy. It's, um, everybody that has a brain is at risk of developing mental health conditions at some point or the other in their lives. So it is a risk everybody is exposed to, and we need to know about it to actually take care of ourselves. And with that, I want to welcome everybody that is present. We're still expecting more people, and we know that they will join us in the course of the meeting. I want to welcome our speakers. We have rich professional speakers who are going to give us insights, who are going to educate us and help us to be more aware of mental health issues. I want to welcome Juliana Francis, who is a journalist and investigative reporter. You're welcome. I also can cite Dr. Fumi Taiwo. She is a clinical psychologist. Also, we have Juliana Ebele Francis, who is a freelance journalist. And last but not, I'm sorry, we have Mr. Femi Akonde, the only man in our midst. You're welcome. Mr. Femi Akonde is a senior HR professional. And also, last but not least, we have Dr. Esther Adekoya, who's the president and founder of Health Rose Care Foundation. I welcome everyone, to all our speakers, to this meeting. And we're just going to kick the ball rolling by calling on one of the people that put this meeting together. I'm talking about Folukemi Ikalia. She's going to set the stage for this webinar. She's going to tell us more about it. She's going to give us an overview of the theme. You're welcome, Folukemi.
Thank you. Thank you, Bumi. Good morning.
Good morning. Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Please, can Anna mute herself?
Anna, please, can you mute yourself? Duke Faye, can you mute yourself? Please, let everybody mute themselves. Just press the mute button on your device. Anna, please, can you mute yourself? Duke Faye, can you mute yourself? Please, let everybody mute themselves. Just press the mute button on your device. Okay, thank you. For look at me, I think you can go ahead.
Okay. My name is Folukemi Ikaria, and this webinar came as an initiative between myself and Funke Fayemi. And we've been on it since last year anyway. This is our second edition. We did one last year, and this is another one. We are hoping we'll be able to do another one before the year runs out. And one of the reasons why we thought this is something we should look at, especially that depression, especially in workplace, is there are a lot of things that's been happening around us, and we just don't understand why it is happening. And we focus more on what happens in the house. It's not only at home that we get depressed. It's not only when bad things happen to us that we get depressed. At times, your environment can contribute to the dampening of your mood. And without you knowing, you react to it. And so, coupled with other factors, everything just works together at times. So when you are in a work environment where we all understand what happens in an office setting, the politics that comes with it, and some can be very toxic, some can be a bit, and because our emotional stability, we do not have the same emotional strength. And so our ability to take in those pressure that comes along with the work might not be at par with ourselves. We cannot be on the same level with it. And so some of us react differently to all these pressures. And at the same time, you can imagine when someone is having home issues, then you come to work where you're supposed to think, oh, at work, I'm going to have a peace of mind, and it's another ball game. You're not sure if you should take a step. You don't know who is ready to take your seat, or who is looking for that mistake that you want, and your boss is not even saying it. There are a lot of things that comes at that time, and it can affect your productivity. It can affect the way you relate with people. It can affect even your own personal growth. So it's very important, and it's very important that these things needs to be addressed, which is one of the reasons why we have set up this webinar. I hope that at the end of this webinar, we'll be able to, have a soul search and understand where we stand, what we can do better for ourselves. And for some of us that would still need to, that will need an LP hand, we are going to be having that here as well. I think before the end of the program, we should be able to offer free session to some people. So if you are lucky, you can be a part of it. So I welcoming everybody here, and I want to say thank you to our guests. And I believe that at the end of the webinar, we'll have something to take home, and would also be able to have educated you as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Folukemi, for that. Yes, you have actually taken this out of our mouth. The special announcements of free therapeutic sessions for the first 5 people to submit their filled Google forms Yes, the
Seven.
Google form.
Seven.
Tells,
Seven.
did I say? Oh, seven.
Seven.
Yes, seven.
Yes.
Seven. I must have said five, right? Forgive me. Yes, seven people. And the Google Forms will be posted in the course of the meeting. So let's be alert. Let's participate. And the first seven people will get free therapeutic sessions. So now we'll go straight into what we have, what this is all about. Yes, our first person, first panelist to talk, who is going to give us her first thought, is Juliana Ebere Francis, a freelance journalist. She works with the Eagle Online, located in Lagos. She's the CEO of Youth Lens Initiative Development, publisher of youthlens.com, owner of securitynewsalert.com, and a media consultant. She has won multiple awards with several nominations and is the first female overall winner of the coveted Wole Soyinka Award for investigative reporting. So please help me to welcome Juliana Ebele Francis as she gives us her first thought. Please note, Juliana, that you have 5 minutes to do this. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Good morning. I'm supposed to talk about depression at workplace, my own experience, since I'm actually battling and I've been struggling with depression for a while now. So, but I'm a journalist. So when you talk about workplace, I don't know if it actually applies to people like us because we are mostly on the field. So so we are mostly on the field anyway. So I don't even know if I should start talking about workplace. But of course, being a female reporter, there is no how we can talk about it anyway. So I don't know or precisely can say at a point when I started having depression, but I knew something was wrong with me when I would just stay in my room. I would cry for no reason, just no reason. I would cry, I would just feel sad. I'll know something was wrong. I would just sometimes, I would just have this feeling of despair, inexplicable. I will not be able to explain it. I will not be able to tell why I was crying or why I was sad. And then at a point, that was the time I started thinking of, just to end it all. I was feeling like I was a failure in everything, failure in my job, failure as a journalist, failure in marriage. And then I started thinking of, there was something that was just telling me that, oh, I've done everything I could. What I started asking myself question, why was I created? Why am I in this world? What am I waiting for? The normal thing for us to do is to be born, to go to school, to have babies, to get married, have children, and the next would be death. So I felt I have achieved those things. I felt the next thing was for me to die. And if death was not coming, I should just do it myself, And I was planning that I was going to take my children along and that I wouldn't want to leave them behind. That was how bad it was for me. And like I said, I really don't know what led to it, what caused it. But last year, I attended a workshop on suicide and trauma, and we were told that there's no biological explanation for it. And but when we look at when we look at the workplace, like for those of us who are journalists, for example, I'm a crime reporter. And because I'm a crime reporter, I come in contact with a lot of sufferings, a lot of horror. So we have issues that have to do with secondary trauma. So maybe accumulation of those things, and coupled with the fact that anyway that I'm a rape survivor, and on the field, when I go out to look for stories, I encountered a lot of things. I remember a time I was almost raped in a police station that I went to. I went to see the DPO and he just locked the door, tried to rape me. So, and it kind of affected me. When people talk about rape or the attempts, people just gloss over it, but it's not something to gloss over because I was a rookie then. I was a rookie, and up till now, even as I am now, I'm still affected by that incident. I was affected to the point that I just decided that I will not be going to police formations the way I should. And if you don't go the way you should, it means you won't be having enough stories, because the truth is that as a crime reporter, you need to be going to the field. So if you are not going to the field, you don't go to police station to build trust, because if you don't have trust, they will not share information with you. So of course, it affected my productivity. So I stopped. And because I was affected by that incident, I went to my newsroom to complain to my supervisor. So naturally, that is like a kind of debriefing, so that they will really know that I was affected and see if they can actually do something. And I even brought a suggestion. I told them that I didn't want to cover the beat again, because that was not just the one-off thing. If you go to a police station, you are supposed to talk with the DPO. A majority of them will be touching your buttocks. You know, it makes you are tense. You are always tense. You know, so when I told them in the newsroom that I wanted to be changed, I wanted to cover that bits. I didn't want crime bits anymore. They told me, my supervisor, I remember vividly, told me that even if they put me on another bit, it will still be the same, because I was a female reporter. So I should just brace up and just brace up and just deal with it the way I can, or the way I could. And that was how I stayed on the beat. So that is just one of the things we as female reporters go through. And coupled with the secondary trauma as an editor, by the time I got to the point of being a line editor, even when stories are coming, you won't believe it that I will be reading stories. I'm not, this is not covering again. Reading stories, I will be crying, I will be affected by it. And then I became involved in issues that have to do with gender-based violence, fighting for rape girls, fighting for battered women. When I hear their stories, I will just break down. Remember that we were told that to be a professional journalist, you are not supposed to allow your feelings to get involved in your job. So at that point, when you are breaking down and crying, you know, you already have an issue. When I was a rookie, did you stop me?
Well, I didn't
Bumi,
stop
did
you.
you stop me?
No, I didn't. But your time is actually up. I didn't stop you. I think it's the network. So you can just give us your last, just
So,
round off at this point. Thank you.
so like I was saying, we are when I was a new reporter, I was not prepared. We were just sent out to go and cover the job, or to go to the field. So the first trauma that really affected me was a man that walked into the newsroom and he said he needed to speak with a crime reporter, and they brought him to me, and he was a full-grown man. You know, he was talking about how he was arrested for a crime he didn't commit, and he was hung or suspended mid-air, stripped, and a broomstick inserted into his penis. So he was shaking. He was talking when under the AC. He was talking and he was sweating, and he was, you know, he could see that man was going through trauma, and who could eventually lead to depression. That thing, it affected me, you know, because I too, I anyway, so we are not
Thank you.
back to this thing. We are not crazy, actually.
No, we're not.
We are not crazy, but I couldn't, I thought I was crazy. Let me be frank with you. when I'll be crying, I will wake up in the morning, I will be laughing. In the next split second, I will start screaming and shouting, mood swing. Then I started having insomnia. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do. Then flashes of some of the things that happened to me, even when I was growing up, all the molestation, I would be. So I thought I was crazy and I couldn't share it with my family. I was so ashamed of myself. So yeah, we are not crazy anymore. We are just
No, we're
battling
crazy.
with depression.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Juliana. We'll still come back to you. We're not done with you. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. It is not an easy thing to share, but we are very grateful you have done this with us. We'll come back to you, but let's take another person. Another speaker is here. We have Dr. Fumi Taiwo, who is a clinical psychologist with over 5 years experience of working with adults and adults' mental health challenges with significant satisfying improvements and results. She's performed hundreds of psychotherapy and coaching sessions. She's also a life coach and a certified professional counselor who values authenticity and non-judgmental approach in dealing with her clients. She helps bring insightful solutions to real life issues. You're welcome. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the privilege. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, Doctor.
Please go ahead.
All right. Wow, Madam Juliana, that was a lot there. You shared a lot of things, and it could still be inferred from your voice that you are still on the, they are still real to you. And I cannot just go into talking without speaking to you that it's I don't know how to put it, but it's a lot, and I will speak to you that you go into therapy really, because shaking it off is not going to be in a day, it's not going to be in 1 year, it's going to be a process indeed. Yeah. So well done at what you do. I wouldn't know what informs your decision of the kind of work you're doing, despite your yes, you're not alone. I agree, absolutely, you're not alone, but you have to, we can heal. Depression is treatable. And without diagnosis, there may be other condition, because like what you were saying, I hear bipolar in what you're saying, because sometimes you are excited, you are laughing, and another time you are so sad. So if you are not managing it well, it won't go by itself. It has to be processed. So you're not alone, like it has been said in the comment section, and my heart goes out to you. Well done, well done. All right, thank you so much for having me. I don't know if I want to mute, because I see a lot of people are not. I don't know if I want to come to video, because I see a lot of people are off their video. Let me see if it works. All right.
Let's see your face as a speaker. Thank you.
Okay, we can see your
Doc.
face. Thank you for sharing your video. Thank you.
All right, all right. All right, so what I want to say quickly, and I must say to Madam Foluke Kalia, this is a good initiative, and I don't think 1 hour is going to do a good justice to what we have before us, because there's a lot of things to be addressed. Yeah, I know that we cannot solve the whole problem in a day. I'm very aware of that. I'm very, very aware of that. But at the same time, okay, so let me go straight to what I have to say. So mental health, I know there are still other speakers coming up. Mental health, according to WHO, is a state of well-being in which an individual realizes his or her own abilities, all right? Like what Madam Julia is doing. You see the abilities she's award-winning, though it comes at a price, can cope with normal stresses of life, That's who has good mental health, according to WHO. Okay, can cope with normal stresses of life, can work productively and able to make contribution to his or our own community. That's mental health. So by this point, I want to say that there's no mental health for me is, so when we hear mental, what comes to mind is mind, our mental faculties, ability to the cognitive, the emotional part of us, yeah. But at the same time, there is the brain part of us as well. So mental health for me is your brain health plus your mind health. That is mental health. You are not just about what you think, about what you feel. You are, your mind is not tangible. The house of your mind is your brain. So there's a relationship between our mind and our brain, and a lot of attention has been given to our mind in the time past without giving due attention to our brain. It is the health in two places, the mind and the brain. So the mind is a pulsating energy. It's not static. It changes as as we encounter situations and circumstances. All right. So the mind is a pulsating energy, while the brain is the physical structure that changes as mind engages. So I don't want it to be too scholastical, but I want us to have that. I want to build curiosity in our heart that as we go away from here, we want to know, what is my brain health? What is my mind health? What's the difference between the two? So, so the mind is an energy. It generates energy through thinking, feeling, choosing behavior. Yeah. So, like I said, when the brain is changing as the mind is engaging, that's what we call neuroplasticity. So, having said all those, I want to speak to, so your mental health is actually how you think, how you feel, how you behave, how you relate to each others, how you relate with the world, and how you cope with stresses. Do you see? So WHO told us what it is, but in reality, when the rubber meets the road, what is your mental health? So what are you thinking about yourself right now? So Madam Juliana, you have been vulnerable with us. So let me ask you, it's a rhetoric question. You don't need to answer me. What do you think about yourself? What do you think about others? And what do you think about the world around you? How do you cope with stresses? Obviously, you're coping with stresses, only they have impact on your mental health still, because you're award-winning. If you aren't making any contribution, if you're not you would have dropped the job. You're still doing the job, or you have made impacts in the job you have done. So the depressive disorder is not craziness, but I must say at this point that it is actually, it can get work done with information, with psychotherapy and right actions. We can't just leave it that it will go by itself. There's a lot of things that it is required for it to wane off, for us to get better, for us to improve at it. But if we're not doing anything, we just tell the stories, we just move around. With time, when you are not crazy, but you're having a mental health condition for so long and you are being labeled or being stigmatized, what's that? It's not craziness, but attention has to be paid to it.
Okay.
So mental health. So I know quite all right that I know my 5 minutes would have gone already. So, but let me quickly say this. That's why I said that the time is just small.
Yeah.
So yeah. So someone says hard work beats depression. That's a big lie from the pit of hell. That is not real. It's not a real illness because it's not tangible. Because if you go under machine, they may not be able to tell you this, and they could. There's a biological part to all of these things, and I wish I had time to really talk about it. Someone will say depression is just self-pity. No, it's
Yes,
a lot of things.
We'll still come back to you, Dr. Taiwo. Thank you
Oh.
so very much. Yes, we have learned so much from what you have said. You talked about the house of our mind is our brain. Wow, that's awesome. And you also said hard work beating depression is a big lie. I hope somebody got something from that. Thank you very much, Dr. Taiwo, for sharing this with us. We have to move on to the next speaker because of our constraints of time. But before we go, I want to express our appreciation to the partners, our partners on these. I'm talking about Brief Essentials, Brand Chicks, and Hot Rose Care Foundation. Thank you so very much for being a part of this. Thank you for supporting us. Now we move on to Mr. Femi Akonde, who is a senior HR professional and certified master trainer. He has an impressive track record spanning over 10 years in human resources and customer relationship management. He's an associate member of the Nigerian Institute of Training and Development, the Society for Human Resources Management, and the American Society for Training and Development. Mr. Femi Akonde is going to speak to us about navigating your way in a toxic environment, particularly work environment. So please join me to welcome Mr. Femi Akonde. You're welcome, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to share my video. I hope you can see me clearly and hear me clearly.
Yes, we can see and hear you clearly. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. I think it's going to be very important for me to just put it out there right from the start that I am not a clinical psychologist, unlike our last guest that just spoke. I am an HR person, but in my day-to-day relationship with employees for the various organizations I've worked, especially with the one I currently work with, once in a while, we do come across situations where people present with, symptoms. I don't want to declare them depressive yet, but they present with symptoms that reflect, slipping into depression. And we as an organization, especially as HR, are required to come up with policies to help these people. First of all, to identify them, get them the needed help, and of course, prevent them from any form of discrimination. And so we actively come up with policies to prevent and protect this sort of individuals. So I think I'll look at it from the perspective of a workplace, which I think the whole essence of my topic is navigating a toxic workplace. In other words, a workplace that seems to have factors in place, that could easily trigger, depression in anyone. And just like has been said, anyone that has a brain can actually slip into depression. It's possible. There are different triggers. So we look at an organization that actively and proactively does everything possible to prevent those kinds of triggers being in place so that people don't get impacted negatively. All right. So a toxic workplace basically is one that is rife with negativity. So you have a workplace where things like hostility, poor leadership style, bullying, harassment, just like the type that Madam Juliana spoke about, where you have probably male employees harassing female employee, or even sometimes you'll be shocked, female employees harassing male employees. I know it's not very common, it's not often spoken about, but it's a reality that I have had to deal with as an HR person. You'll be shocked and surprised about it. But it's quite, based on my experience as an HR person, it's actually more prevalent than we think. It's just that for a lot of guys who who become victims of that kind of situations, they find it a bit, I don't know whether to call it shame, to speak about it. So most times they don't report it, they just take it into themselves. And of course, very soon they begin to present with all kinds of symptoms. All right. You have a situation where you have poor communication, lack of respect. You have a situation where, you have a high pressured organization that creates an environment for unhealthy competition between employees, between departments, And, when you work in those kinds of environment, you soon find yourself exposed to all sorts of negative things that begin to impact your mental health. Okay, and there are symptoms you can easily see. As HR, there are factors that we look at and we begin to question ourselves on whether or not our organization is having to deal with some of these factors. So if you begin to see a situation where employees, there's a sudden spike in absenteeism, for instance, you begin to see a disengagement in employees become more and more disengaged. You see an employee that used to perform very well, who was a high-performing employee, and suddenly that employee is starting to struggle with their targets, struggle with their deliverables. Half of the time, they are looking for excuses not to come to work. You begin to see a high turnover rate. Suddenly, you see a spike. And an employee that seemed to appear very committed to the organization suddenly tenders their resignation on very short notice and they want to go. You begin to see things like low morale, right? The company seems to be doing well, but the people who are delivering value to the organization seem to be displaying low morale, low commitment levels, a lack of trust. Just like I said, for some of our male employees that sometimes fall victim, especially to things like sexual harassment and some of these things, because they do not feel that there is an environment of trust. Some of them find it very difficult coming forward, right, to report some of these challenges. And so for that reason, they continue to swallow it and think they can handle it until when it becomes too difficult to mention. Now, if you create an environment like that, then you are creating a toxic environment. If you do not actively as an organization, especially leveraging the HR policies that are available, begin to address that, then you soon have a toxic work environment. So some common signs that you find around are things like gossiping, where people speak, everything is through the grapevine. Because of poor communication, everything you hear is a rumor. People are talking, backbiting, creating that unhealthy environment that toxic environment. Then you have a situation where people who are in leadership positions tend to micromanage. You give somebody a task, you know that the person can do the task, but rather than give them adequate time, you soon find that you are checking up on them, second guessing every move that they make. You don't give them that leverage to be able to deal, because it's a high pressured environment. You do not provide the needed support. You give somebody a task. So like our dear lady, Madam Juliana, who was just given a task, given an assignment, sent out into the field without providing her the necessary protection to protect her as she goes about doing her job. So there's that lack of support, unclear expectations, high expectations. I'm working under a lot of pressure. I've been given a target to raise 100 billion within a quarter. How do I do that? I'm a female. I'm supposed to go out and get people to come and invest in our organization. How am I going to do that given the shortness of time and the lack of support? So those are some of the pressures that lead to the creation of this toxic environment that we're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
So, okay. All right. My time is up, right?
Yes, it is. Thank you so very much,
Okay.
Mr. Miyakonde. We'll still come back to you. We have questions for you. Thank you for giving us your thoughts on toxicity in the workplace environment. Thank you. Now we'll move on to the next speaker, and that is Dr. Esther Adekoya. She's a writer, published author, social sector manager, emotional health therapist, and film producer. Wow. She's a doctor in professional education in humanitarian service, DBA from Roxburgh Institute of Social Entrepreneurship in Switzerland, President, Hurt Rose Care Foundation, and CEO, Hurt Rose Leadership Academy. Dr. Adekoya is going to give us an overview on mental wellness in Nigeria, especially at the workplace. So please help me and join me in welcoming Dr. Esther Adekoya. You're welcome, madam. The floor is yours.
Yes, I want to appreciate the convener. I also want to appreciate everyone that have combined to support this work. In fact, this is what we need at the time I did, because so many people are going through a whole lot based on what the organization monitoring the health of the world is saying, that the World Health Organization. I also want to appreciate Juliana. Thank you. I salute your courage for actually having to share this. Now, that is a big kudos to you. And also my other co-panelists, Taiwo, Mr. Akonde, is nice having you all here. Now, okay, now I'm going to talk a little about, okay, the wellness, an overview of the wellness. But I just know, being a dramatic person, I just want to paint a scenario about that phrase. I'm not crazy, but just depressed. Now, let's take, for example, a scenario between a boss, a superior, and a subordinate. And you're like, what is happening to you? I'm trying to create, paint a dramatic scenario. And like the boss happened to me and said, are you crazy or something? Having discovered, noticed some signs or some problem in the workplace or in the work that the person is supposed to do, and the person is not really functioning or producing, and then he noticed it and he like, are you crazy or something? And then there comes the reply, I am not crazy, I'm just depressed. And so that shows that the employee who says, I am not crazy, I'm just depressed, shows first and foremost the unwillingness, to open up to the boss before that particular time. But then it is obvious that the symptoms of that emotional ill health, because depression is an emotional ill health, it's still migrating and can get complicated and then become emotional, mental illness. And then it becomes obvious that there's something wrong. But then do we have to get to that point where the boss will actually ask, are you crazy? That means there's something, happening. And that's where I'm going to really concentrate my talk on, having that difficult conversation that we always try to hide about. And one thing we need to know, that is why the HR people need to become very vibrant and to, be proactive about this. They have a role to play. And then also the staff, the employee also have a very, vital role to play, because about the human capital, when the human capital is depressed, then it is important that we need to actually have this important conversation, because the mineral resources, that is the wealth of a company, it is not on the mineral resources, but it is on the human capital, that is the human resources. And when the human resources is depressed, then of course it's going to affect the organization. And then while I was giving this topic, I like, okay, let me just I don't just want to dwell, because I had some market research, as in some of the research that I found out that 74% of full-time employee in USA, it is appropriate to discuss mental health at work, but only 58% say they feel comfortable sharing about their mental health at work. And then 7 in 10 senior level employees say they have not received workplace training on how to talk to their team about mental health. And I try to look at, can I get a primary research to just complement this? And one of the people I spoke with, actually said that the statistic is actually representative and resonate well, that it is actually appropriate to discuss mental health concern at work, because all of our bosses, they don't even understand the cry out symptom. They only, cry, they speak out when the work is going wrong. And then also the work people, that is the employee, will feel that, no, I don't want to talk about it. There's this one I also call a kind of secret lament, that I'm afraid that if my colleague know about my depression, they will start to view, my kind of typical illness, and then they talk around. And I can't even reveal to my boss or my co-workers because of the fear of being marginalized professionally and also the fear of being stigmatized. And so that is why one needs to do something proactively. And then one of the board that I spoke with said, there's this increasing challenges to manage, across board, but physical and mental and medical health seem to take more space. And so nobody want to talk about mental illness in the workplace because of the stigmatization. And so that's why somebody needs to do something. Also, they are not comfortable sharing their mental health status. Also, partly due to the secrecy from the cultural perspective, or because they don't even know of the kind of help they are going to get or concerning the support that they will be coupled with. I am not even done. My time.
I know you're not done. The time is so short that we have to manage the time. Yes, thank you so very much for your thoughts on this.
Okay.
I'm sure.
Let me just give a last word. What I'm concerned about is now the bosses and then also the employee. They have to come up and do something. You have to work towards helping the employee, and then the employee also have to love themselves so well and also speak up.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adekoya, for your thoughts on this. We appreciate you. I want to announce that the Google form talked about earlier has been dropped, and the first 7 people to submit the Google form will have the opportunity of
a free. Are you talking to me?
No. Please, can you mute your mic? Thank you. Yes, I'm talking to the general house now. The Google form we talked about has been dropped, and the first 7 people to fill and submit their Google form will have the opportunity of a free therapeutic session. Yes, that is the bonus we have. The first 7 participants to fill and drop the Google form will have free therapeutic session. Now, we have heard the 4 speakers talk to us on different issues about mental health. But what we now need to look at is questions for them. Yes, everybody has commended, so many people have commended our first speaker, Juliana. Yes, a lot of people identify with you and feel so much for you, what you have been through in your place of work. Now, the question I have for you, Juliana, is what stage are you in right now when it comes to this depression, mental health issue? How have you been able to manage it so far? You've won awards, you've been nominated for awards, and you're still working. So how has it been with you? What have you done to be able to get to where you are right now? Juliana, this is for you. You have 1.5 minutes to do this, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I didn't do anything. I just stumbled on a kind of help when I was NUJ, Nigerian Union of Journalists. They organized a kind of medical program, and doctors were there. So one of the people that I went to for screening, discovered that I had health issue that could be treatable, and he asked if I knew. I said, yes, I knew. He said, for how long? I said, for years. I knew I had this health issue. He said, and he asked why I have not gone for treatment. I said that, and he just started the questions, and and then he told me that the professor. I said, yes, I knew I was. Then it was at the point that I was thinking about taking my life and the lives of my children that I now felt. And it was that point that God actually brought that doctor, and he now asked me some questions, asked me if I've told my family members. I said no, because I was ashamed of telling them. My family members, we are mostly women, mostly ladies. They used to see me cry, and they just couldn't fathom why I would be crying, So, and every time they ask me, I would just say, I'm okay. I just don't, I'm not just feeling fine. I'm not. And constantly. So then at a point I become I got hooked on sleeping pill. I will not be able to sleep except I take sleeping pills. But
Wow.
that doctor told me some things to do. Then last year I went for a kind of a program organized by psychologists, about 3 of them, on suicide and trauma. So
Okay.
while they were discussing, I discovered that what actually makes me happy is actually like scribbling, scribbling, writing, even if it's a short story, even if it's a poem, just then I
Just
resigned.
okay. Yeah.
I
Oh,
resigned
okay.
from my workplace. I didn't want the prayer. Oh, okay, sorry.
Okay,
You
Juliana,
said
thank you.
I should stop, Abby.
Yes, yes, our time is fast spent. Yes, we have been able to get something from what you have said. Thank you so very much, Juliana, for sharing your thoughts, for sharing your experience with us. Now we'll go to Mr. Femi Akonde. Yes, you talked about a lot of things in the workplace that could affect a worker's mental health. Now you are an HR person. What is the HR doing to help people so that they do not get into depression, into things that would affect their mental health in the workplace? Mr. Femi Akonde, please, in 1.5 minutes.
All right, so thank you very much for this opportunity once again. All right, so as an HR person or as HR, our responsibility, first of all, is to, like I said, identify those triggers, all right? Identify those triggers. And how do we identify those triggers? By seeing some of the symptoms, all right? When we begin to see a high rate of resignation, staff attrition, people leaving the organization at short notice, when we begin to see a high rate of absenteeism, employees not wanting to come to work as regularly as they used to, when we begin to see waning commitments, when you see an employee that was doing very well before and then suddenly they are underperforming. When we begin to see some of those signs, it tells us, it's something that tells us basically that there is trouble somewhere. And when we have those kinds of situations, part of what we do is, of course, try to engage with the employees directly and just do some troubleshooting to find out what the challenges might be. But proactively, right, it's our work to provide that positive work environment and culture where those toxic behaviors do not exist. And part of the way we do that is by designing, policies and procedures that prevent that kind of behavior. So for instance, we have policies against bullying, we have policies against, that ensures work-life balance, employees, being able to work, but also being able to play, all right, as much as possible, just to strike that balance. We have policies that encourage the employees to, find that happy place. So we create even the office ambience itself. We create an environment where you can work, but where you can also, recuperate, how do you say it now? Where you can have pastimes, time away from your work. We encourage employees, of course, to report incidents if they are having, especially incidents around bullying and all of that. We create several channels, both known and anonymous, where even if you feel like you don't want your name to be mentioned, right, you can anonymously whistleblow. So if you see it happening to a colleague, even if it's not happening to you, you have the the opportunity to actually report that to HR, find a way of reporting that. And of course, above all, we have sessions like this one, regularly, where we bring experts like Dr. Adekoya and other experts to come talk to employees about mental health and let them know that it's something that can be addressed and treated.
All right.
Right.
Thank you.
I really wish I had more time to unpack all of that, but there's so much to do.
I wish you did
Thank
too. I wish you did. But we'll still come back to you. We'll have a short question and answer session. Now, I want to go to Dr. Adekoya. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mr. Femi Akonde. Thank you so much. Now, Dr. Adekoya, you mentioned some things, and stigmatization is one of them. Now, can you give us some suggestions on how people can handle stigmatization when it comes to mental health issues? Dr. Adekoya, over to you, please.
Now, that's on the aspects of the employee. One thing about it is that everything starts with you, so you have to be kind about yourself, because you have to be true to yourself and don't lie. Like when you are going through an uncanny situation that you don't understand, and it's all about your health, because health is wealth, and the best the best wealth is health. So you need to come against, look away from that stigmatization, and then talk to your HR or a significant person. So you have to do that, take that proactive step. Also look that is the kind to yourself. Develop your interests and your hobbies. What thing that you like doing. Look after your health. So these are some of the things. Look after yourself. Also, another thing is build your support network. Probably if you can't, say it directly, I think you should have a kind of peer support group, even in the workplace, somebody that may have a more, a more bigger voice or louder voice to be able to communicate what you are going through to your HR so that they can do something about it. Or probably to, also to give you some time to go and take care of yourself. So this is very, very important. That is peer support. Also, another thing is, identify your triggers. What is that particular thing that is triggering you? Is this, Foluka was saying something about home, probably the home front, or is it the workplace? So that you can be helped, because you can't help somebody who is not willing to be helped, even though you might be going through a whole lot. So you have to love yourself, open up, and have this difficult conversation. So that's one of the ways you can.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Adekoya, for your contribution. Yes, thank you very much. Now, Dr. Fumi Taiwo, you talked about hard work not beating depression. I'm still going back to that. So if hard work does not beat depression, what can a depressed person do to maintain sanity in the workplace? If you can't throw yourself into work and just use work to drown these things, what can you do? Dr. Fumi Taiwo, please. Unmute yourself, please, Dr. Fumi Taiwo. You're muted. Okay.
Okay, now. So I'm saying thank you, everyone who has spoken. Thank you for the privilege one more time. So, for correction, I'm Fumi Taiwo. I don't know, it must have been a typographical or something error. I'm Fumi Taiwo, not Taiwo. All right, that's by the way. So, like I was telling Madam Juliana, she was a typical case study for us in this course of conversation. You can't wish depression away. You can't hope it will go. It can't go away accidentally. It has to be processed. You have to give yourself to a system, a process that will help you see things in the right perspective, diagnose you correctly, support system like what Dr. Adekoya was talking about, the support system that is required, the support of people around, their knowledge and support is necessary. So it's a work, it's a journey, and it's not one day, it's not 1 year, it's not 2 years, because they didn't get there in a moment. They got there as a process. So education, psychoeducation about what you have been through and what you're going through is going to help a great deal. So someone who had started on the continuum of depression or has developed or has seen depression in themselves, they have to be ready to work to see that things were back into the functioning zone. All right. So that's what I say. It's not covering the pains up with work. It's not going about talking to everybody who cannot help about what your issues. It's not just crying as it comes and telling people, I'm not just crazy. You have to process it so that you can understand yourself. You, like what Dr. Adekoya is saying, you have to understand your trigger. It's not automatic. It's some reflective work, maybe with a professional or some people who are, So that's what someone who has this condition had to go through. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fumi Taiwo. I removed the second Taiwo. I apologize for that. Okay, so now our speakers have said so much, and I know people want to know much more, but we have so very short a time. We have like 10-15 minutes to go. So please, if you have any question, just put up your hand and let me see so that I allow you to ask your question, and our speakers should please make the answers as short as possible. We want to take a few questions. So who's going to go first? Questions, please. While we're doing that, I want to say thank you to the partners on this webinar, Brief Essentials, Brand Checks, and Hot Rose Care Foundation. Thank you so very much for partnering with us. Okay, so I have two people who have their hands up. I'll call Rita Ali Nok. Let's have your question, please. Funke Fayemi, I'll come to you after this. Please, let's know who your question is to. Rita Ali Nok. Unmute yourself and ask your question, please.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Yes,
thank
good
you so
morning.
much. Good morning. I'd like to say a very big thank you to all the speakers. I can relate to quite a lot of things that you all have said. I was functioning on the seat of human resources and communications with an organization, which was media as well. And we had quite a number of challenges. When Mr. Femi was saying, high attrition rates, the fact that productivity was drops, and some of the things that you kind of observe, and you're coming up with suggestions and ways for us to improve the organization, but you're not getting the right attention from the leadership. I know you said leadership is very key, and you're trying to solve the challenges because you're seeing that the attrition rate is high. You're seeing productivity is going nowhere. You've seen all the signs, but you're sort of handicapped because there's not much that you can do. You may have made suggestions or had conversations with the leadership of the organization, and you're not really getting that much of an attention to be able to make policies. If I look back, I'm going to say, oh, maybe I may have made some mistakes as well,
Okay,
I didn't think that.
Can we have your question?
Yes, I have just asked the question. I didn't have the time to be able to, write out policies or present them as documentation, but there were more conversations. What do you suggest that, one can proactively do in situations like that in the future? Mr. Akonde, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Femi Akonde, the question is directed to you. You have 1 minute to answer, please. Thank you.
If I understand Rita's, and thank you, Rita, for that question. If I understand your question well, you are basically saying, how do you gain leadership buy-in for some of the initiatives that you want to roll out? And if that's what you're asking, I'll give you, because of shortness of time, I'll give you a very simple response, right? And there are so many things you can do. But one of the key things that business leadership buys into is anything that affects the business's performance. So if you frame it from that perspective, let them see the figures, the fact that the high attrition rate, low employee commitment, poor performance, and all of this is affecting the numbers. In other words, it's affecting the targets that have been set by the business as far as they are concerned. Trust me, they will sit up and listen to you when you begin to sell them some initiatives that you want to roll out in order to improve employee mental health and so on and so forth. That's one thing that always wins. You know, HR has a way of not presenting those numbers, but if you present the number, help them to speak their language. The language business leaders understand is Naira and Kobo. So sell it to them that, look, because people are dealing with some of these challenges, because we are not upgrading our workplace and doing away with toxicity, is beginning to affect employee performance. And the more it affects employee performance, the poorer the company performs. Once you sell it that way, that is guaranteed to get them to at least sit up and pay you listening ear. That is, because of shortness of time, that is guaranteed to get their attention. All right. So I hope that helps.
Thank you very much, Mr. Femi Akonde. I'm grateful for that. So we'll take the next question. Funke Fayemi, the floor is yours. Please make your question very short and straight to the point. Thank you.
Thank you, Bumi. Good afternoon, everyone. It's been a very, very, very revealing session for me. My question goes to Juliana Francis, because I can relate with most of the things you have talked about. As a journalist dealing with crime reports and as a depressed person, how did you balance and still excel on the job? That's my question, Juliana Francis.
Okay, thank you. Juliana, you have 1 minute. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, Funke. So how did I cope balancing and the rest? Like I said, I didn't, for a long time, I didn't know what was wrong with me. I just felt something was not right. And so that was why I didn't open up. I didn't discuss with anybody. So I was just taking the day as it comes, you know. I was not seeking help. I was not doing anything. I was just, but by the time I realized something was wrong with me, I decided, by then I already have become a line editor. When you become a line editor, you don't go out much. You are mostly into editing. So you're always in the office. But I now discover that what makes me happy, because like Mr. Femi said, you need to know the trigger. I realized some of the triggers and I tried to manage them. And I asked myself, what are the things I have been doing that actually makes me happy? I realized that what makes me happy is doing a called investigative journalism. Now, investigative journalism is not the same as your run-of-the-mill reporting. It's taxing, it occupies your mind, you know, it's so possessive of your mind that you don't even have the chance to think of any other thing. Then I discovered that writing too occupies me. So things that actually occupies me are things I do. In fact, if you tell me to write ordinary stories that doesn't have to do with fighting for justice, I just lose interest. But if you're asking me that I want to escalate a case of a child that has been raped, human rights issues, yeah, that's actually my coping mechanism.
Okay, thank you so much, Anna. Thank you.
I hope it helps my explanation.
I'm sure it does. Thank you so very much for that explanation. Thank you. Now, the next person to ask his question is Obafolahon Ojibara. I hope I got that name, the pronunciation correctly. So please go straight to your question. Make it apt, please.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, everybody. Yes, you got the pronunciation of my name correct. So I thank you for that. My question is directed to Mr. Femi Akonde. It's a little bit of a general question. Depression and issues related to it are still things that people find very difficult to talk about in this country. So my question is this: I'm aware that outside Nigeria, we have opportunities for people to go outside the employment structure and consult with therapists online, and they find solutions to whatever depression issues they have. Do we have that kind of thing here in Nigeria presently? Because I'm also aware that a number of the HR managers in some of these major organizations are not really equipped to deal with some of these issues that their employees within the organizations have. So do we have opportunities to go outside and say and consult somebody online and get some kind of solution to whatever it is that we're going through in terms of depression? That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Thank you. 1 minute, Mr. Akonde. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much for that question, Fola. So look, yes, we do have things like that. I think so many of the speakers here actually are used to the fact that, talking about mental health is one thing that is very difficult for people to speak about, especially in the workplace. And so as an organization that is forward thinking, you must create that platform where employees get the help that they can as anonymously as possible. So I'll use an example of the organization I currently work for. As part of our health management system, as part of our health insurance scheme, we actually have a package that we call the Employee Assistance Program. The Employee Assistance Program is purely focused on mental health. And what it pulls together is that there is an agency, I don't want to mention their name because of branding and all these things, but there's an agency that pulls together a body of medical experts, mental health experts, clinical psychologists like Dr. Adekoya and the rest of them. And there is a number that you can call to book an appointment, right? Now, feedback from those sessions that you have, the sessions are fully paid for by the organization, and feedback that you get, or the session details, are not fed back to the organization, except things that the organization can proactively do to create or to enhance that atmosphere that trigger mental health issues, all right? So the details are not fed back. So there is a safe environment where we create an anonymity that the employee would feel safe, exploring. So yes, indeed, we have what we call the Employee Assistance Program, which is taken care of by HR and sponsored 100% as part of the organization's health insurance package, right? It's paid for 100%. So as many sessions as that employee requires to be able to get the help that they need from a certified professional, we pay for it, and the employee is able to explore that option in order to get the help that they need. And it's growing rapidly. I speak for the organization I currently work for, but I know there are a few other organizations that are adopting this. And the more we have sessions like this, the more awareness other organizations begin to realize that they need to invest more in the mental health awareness of their employees. So I hope that answers the question.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Akonde, for the answer to that question. Well, I quite understand that Dr. Adekoya might have something to say about this question too, because that is one of the things she deals with. Dr. Adekoya, do you have anything to say in 1 minute, please?
Yeah, thank you. I was just saying, in my heart that what Mr. Femi said is actually a welcome move. If this will really cut across many other organizations, and they are going to earmark, some good budget in order to help these people. Because one other thing is that because this employee at times not comfortable divulging some information, some sensitive information to some of their workmates or their managers, and so they need outside people to actually come so that they can open up to, and then of course that information will be treated tactfully so that they can help them. And another thing also is that in case you get to hear any of this information, then I think they should maintain a high rate of confidentiality. And another thing that I want to also say in the workplace is that our managers or the HR should make themselves tellable. What I mean by tellable is that make yourself, conducive, accessible, so that these people can also share some things with you. And then, of course, I want to repeat it again with emphasis, refer them to resources. You are not their therapist, but you are just there in order to help these people, because they are the human resources.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you,
you
Social
very much,
Justice.
Dr. Adekoya. Thank you so much. Well, that's done with questions. We now want our speakers to give us their final thoughts in 1 minute. Please, 1 minute. So I will call on Dr. Fumi Taiwo. In 1 minute, please give us your final thoughts. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, everyone. So I would just like to say that, like I've said, everyone that has mind has brain. Everyone that has brain is a candidate or could be at a particular point in mental health that they will need support. This is part of our whole responsibility to be healthy. We all need to look out for ourselves. We all need to do what is required. We don't need to wait until there is emergency. A therapy session in a long, a therapy session in a long while is not too bad. Things doesn't have to, we don't need to run into emergency before we will need it. We all need it. Even the therapists need therapy. So I'm just saying that to make sure we're in good condition. We're not human doings, we're human beings. And it is when you know who you are, when you know who you are, what you think about where you are, people you are dealing with, that's when you can evaluate if you are doing well or not. All right.
Thank
So
you
let's
very
pay
much.
attention to.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fumi Taiwo. Now, Mr. Femi Akonde, your final thoughts in 1 minute. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mental challenges are real. They are clear and present. They are with us. They exist in virtually every workplace due to the high pressured environment that most organizations operate under. Not to even mention operating in a country like ours with all of the challenges, all right? So these challenges exist both within the workplace and outside the workplace, all right? And so organizations need to begin to actively and proactively create platforms, like this to educate, enlighten, and of course, help employees manage whatever challenges may arise. Now, to be fair to the organizations, some of the challenges are not things that the organization brings about. They could be burdens and baggages that the employee brings from their life outside of work. However, if you want this employee to continue to deliver value to you as an employee, then you must also care about the things that they're exposed to outside of the work environment. So we must walk the talk as organizations, right? We must put our money where our mouth is, by looking after the people that work for us and ensuring that they are operating at 100%, mental care at every opportune time. So I think we need to begin to do that. I also like to, sorry, I know my 1 minute is up, but I also like to quickly add that platforms like this, I think subsequently for subsequent editions, you really need to have a longer period so that, especially for the experts like Dr. Adekoya and Dr. Taiwo, can have an opportunity to share, some of the knowledge they have with people that join in, right? Let's make the sessions a little longer, right? So that we can have adequate time to have these conversations. Thank you very much.
Yes, I agree with you. Thank you so very much, Mr. Akonde, for that. I also want to note before I call the next panelists that we're going to have a group picture after this. So we're going to require everyone to put on their video at the end of this session. Thank you. So now let's have Dr. Adekoya give us her final thoughts in 1 minute. Dr. Adekoya,
in
please.
1 minute. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so what I want to say, just to complement what Dr. Fumi said about self-care. Self-care is not, is not selfish. So I believe that every individual should have a wellness, self-care wellness plan. Take care of yourself because you have to nourish in order to flourish. So because self-care, is about, giving the world the best of you instead of what is left. And you can't pour from an empty cup. So be good to yourself as an employee, first and foremost, relax, refresh, and recharge, and do what you need to do. Talk about your feeling to a significant individual, take care of yourself, and then consider counseling when it is most important because it's all about you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Adekoya. Thank you. And the last
And
but
one
not
more thing,
least,
build resilience, make yourself strong against any negativity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So we now have Juliana. Please, Juliana, let's have your final thoughts in 1 minute. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So some few weeks back, a friend of mine, with all his wealth, money, he has a mansion. He actually went to his mansion and hung himself, with a rope in his sitting room. So you see, it has nothing to do with money or your achievements. So I think going forward, I think there should be, because it's expensive to actually attain care, especially for those of us who are journalists. I mean, for crying out loud, how much they pay us? But my friend that even killed himself is actually a senior police officer. So I think there should be a deliberate and intentional policy, mandatory for all organizations to enforce, make it like mandatory that every employee, every worker in any organization, be it civil service or private, should actually go for therapy or checkup, or I don't know the medical term to use, every three months. Or thank you.
Thank you very much, Juliana, for that. That was profound. Thank you. Now we are gradually coming to the end of this webinar. Before we go, we'll take our picture photo section. How we're going to do it is we'll have our panelists first. So please let all the panelists put on their videos so that we can have a picture with you. Panelists, please, let's do this in 20 seconds. Thank you. Yes, I can see you, panelists. Okay. Folukemi, are we done? Folukemi, right?
Yes, hold on, just a second.
Okay.
Just a second.
Okay.
Please hold on. Okay. Done.
Okay, so let everybody put on their video so that we can all have the group picture. Everybody, thank you. Oh, I can see faces. Uh-oh. All right. Good to see you all. Everybody's looking so bright and beautiful. Lovely. Oh, lovely, lovely. I love seeing these faces. Yes. So for look at me, please let's know when we're done. So we'll go to the next item before we end this meeting.
Okay, in a sec.
Okay.
Then the second set.
Oh. Okay.
Please, just. Done.
Oh, thank you. So okay, thank you very much for looking. We can now put up our videos as I call on the second convener of this meeting, Funke Fayemi, to give us the vote of thanks and announce the winner. Funke, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Bumi. Yeah, it's been a very interesting session and quite revealing. And I want to thank everybody for joining. Well, Juliana Francis, a multiple award-winning journalist, a crime editor, I want to say a big thank you to you. You came all out and reached everything out for us to know that, yes, I am not crazy, but depressed. Dr. Fumi Taiwo, thank you so much for coming from that medical angle to let people know, yes, I am not crazy, but depressed. Mr. Femi today, Human Resource and Customer Relations Management Specialist. You dished it out too. You made us to know, yes, you're grounded in what you do, and you have made it so revealing for people to know that, yes, there's certain things you can do. Thank you for your time. And Dr. Esther Adekoya, the president and founder of Art Rose Care Foundation. Thank you so much, madam. You are one of our partners. Your organization, Art Rose Care Foundation, partnered with us. Thank you so much. Other partners are Brief Essentials and Brand Chicks. We appreciate you for what you have done to us. You have made us to be able to have 7 winners that will be announced in a few minutes. And these people will enjoy free therapeutic sessions. I will not end thanking people without thanking you, Olubunmi Oshoteko, a senior presenter and assistant director with Voice of Nigeria. Thank you for making this a smooth sail for us. So the winners, I hope we're all attentive. The first 7 people that their names came up and filled, those 7 people filled the forms. And they are, number 1, Silifat Yetunde Giwa, Bolanle Idowu, Moriamo Harry, Pauline Onyibe, Oseoluwa Ajijohan, Elizabeth and Ifunaya Nebedum. So these people are the winners, and we'll take it up from here after this webinar. Thank you so much. We look forward to another one coming up soon, and I hope you'll all attend. All participants, you made it possible. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your data. And I hope you have taken 1 or 2 things away with you. God bless you all. Bye.
So thank you so very much, everyone, for being a part of this webinar. I have learned so much, and I know you have learned too. So we'll do this again sometime soon by God's grace. Thank you for being there. God bless you. Enjoy the rest of the week. Bye.